Good evening. I hope, let's see, it's me, and let's see who else is here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. It says my internet connection is unstable. Let's see, that doesn't seem right. Let me share my screen, the desktop. There we go. Let me get to the right screen. Hi, Pam. Nice to see you. Let me go ahead and get the correct screen up here in front. Hi, Kim. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Okay, so, well, oops, wrong screen. There we go. Make you guys small down here in the corner. And let's see where you went. There we go. Okay. Nice to see everyone. It is just about 7 o'clock Central Time, and it is week number 3 in business law already. So, for those of you who thought, oh, geez, business law isn't going to be any fun, look, here's the good news. We're already in week 3 of 5, so that is great. Okay, so I hope everyone had a happy Halloween. I don't know if you guys have kids and were out trick-or-treating, or if you were out having fun yourselves, but hope you had a good Halloween. We're now into November, officially the holiday season. I don't know if you're like me and you turn on the TV and you're being bombarded with Thanksgiving and Christmas commercials already everywhere. So it is just about that time of year for us to get going in full swing into the holidays. So the good news is we've got a couple more weeks after this week in the class, and you'll be able to be done with this class before Thanksgiving. So that's good. And then you'll have a break over Thanksgiving and one more session for the year that will start in December, and then have a break around Christmas time and New Year's, and then finish usually the week after New Year's. All right, so the reading for this week says chapters 3, 5, and 8. You have your lessons and your audio download or text, whichever way you would like to take a look at it. We have a discussion as usual, and the discussion says, in the tort of negligence, what must the injured party or plaintiff establish to begin a lawsuit against a manufacturer? Negligence is what we call unintentional torts. Many torts, which are civil wrongdoings, or wrongdoings that happen to a person or their property that don't rise to the level of a crime. So, in other words, no one's going to jail. Negligence is an unintentional tort. In other words, nobody meant for something to go wrong, but it did. And the person or the person's property, if it's been damaged, that person, who we call the aggrieved person, should have a right to be put back into the position they were in had the tort never occurred. Now, in regular torts, if you guys were in law school and you're looking at torts from a non-business standard, there are a lot of torts against persons. Assault and battery can both be torts against a person. False imprisonment can be a tort against a person. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, those can all be intentional torts against persons. The torts against property are things like trespass to land, and trespass to personal property. So those items are considered to be torts as well. In the business world, when we start looking at negligence, it really wants to have you look at product liability. If somebody puts a product out into the marketplace and that is found to be unsafe and people are hurt, what kind of liability does the manufacturer have? And it may not just be the manufacturer, it may be the distributor. So torts, when you start looking at product liability, can get kind of complicated, because if you say that you are a manufacturer and you make what's a good thing? Let's say that you make pots and pans, kitchen pots and pans. There was a famous case about a turkey pan that exploded while someone was cooking a Thanksgiving turkey. So let's say that you produce pots and pans, and you produce them and you ship them to the stores that sell them. Once they leave your factory, you can't control necessarily how the train, plane, automobile, whatever it is that is taking your shipment to the stores, you can't necessarily control that. You can't control the conditions under which they're stored inside of the retailer. You can't tell if they're stocked up on the shelves correctly or if they fall off the shelf and one may crack inside of the box, have some sort of a hairline crack that no one ever sees, and that's the cause of the problem. So there are a lot of things that are out of your control. When we look at strict liability for torts that involve manufacturers, we also have to look at things like, is this a design defect or is it a manufacturing defect? Probably the grandfather of all manufacturer liability tort cases was the Ford Pinto case, and you will be reading about that. The Ford Pinto case was a case where the way that the car was designed, where the gas tank was placed, potentially caused in a rear end collision, caused the gas tank to be pushed into the back seat of the car, into the passenger compartment, and it could burst into flames and people could get hurt. Now, this is back before we ever had email and we ever had texting and we had electronic ways of keeping track of things. But lo and behold, somebody figured out along the way that there was potentially a problem, and they sent a note to one of the engineers or one of the heads of Ford Motor Company and said, hey, do we think that we might want to stop production of this car and rework this potential problem and then put it back out on the market? And there was a decision made not to stop production and not to make the fix, because in big business, when you're looking at selling thousands and thousands of units of things, the bottom line is, if you think about it, there's nothing that will ever be produced that can't, in some way, shape, or form, whether it's being used correctly or incorrectly, cause harm to someone. So, as sad as this sounds, what big companies do is they have to do a risk assessment of some sort to figure out, okay, if we put this product out into the marketplace, how many do we think we're going to sell? How much money are we going to make? Where are these products going to be sold? What are the chances that somebody hurts themselves with it? If somebody gets hurt, do we think that they will just be hurt, or could they be killed? How many people do we think could die or be seriously hurt from this product? And how much do we think we would have to end up paying out if people were hurt or killed? So they get a lot of accountant types who really like numbers, are called actuaries, and they put them together in a room and they do a whole bunch of, they run a whole bunch of numbers. And if at the end of the day, it looks like the cost of paying out claims to people who were hurt or to families of people who may have been killed is only a small fraction of the amount of money that they're going to make on this product, then potentially the product still gets made. Now, it's a little bit harder nowadays because of what we call transparency, where it's harder to hide these flaws because we encourage whistleblowers to come forward and say when they see something unethical or illegal happening in a business. And because so many things are done via email and via text and in a recordable manner, it's very hard to hide if you are asking someone a valid question and then there's a potential issue. Look at what Hillary Clinton is going through. Look at what every single person who's ever run for office, look at all of the different candidates that have run this year and the potential issues that they have had being caught on camera, being caught in emails, being caught when they didn't think that the microphone was on. So again, it's virtually impossible nowadays to do anything without someone having pulled out an iPhone to take a picture or to record what's going on. So you're going to be looking at this idea of product liability. So is it a design defect? That's what was the problem with the Ford Pinto. There was an actual defect in the design, which meant that every single Ford Pinto that came off of the production line had that problem. That is different than a manufacturing defect. That's where the design of the product is good, it's fine, but along the way somewhere, this particular widget that is coming off of the production line is defective in some way. So design defect versus manufacturing defects. You're going to look at those things. Strict liability in torts is the idea that if you are found to be in control or should have been in control of the thing that caused the harm, you're not going to be able to raise any defense. You are going to be liable for whatever damage was caused by that item. So we're going to have you look and do some reading about this tort of negligence and look at the elements that must be proven in order to win in a lawsuit, and look and see how strict liability it changes the game. Okay? Everybody good? Kim and Pam, everybody, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. All right. So that is your discussion question for the week. Then, of course, you have your typical quiz that, again, I will say I think is better when you do it later on in the week so that you can have a little bit of this information and studying under your belt. Live session, obviously, is what we're in right now, so let's take a look at the assignment. This assignment is 500 to 600 words, and guess what? Remember I told you you were going to be reading about the Ford Pinto case. Well, guess what? Denny versus Ford Motor Company is about the Pinto case. So, as I said, this is probably the grandfather of all product liability cases. And the whole idea came down to, should Ford have done something different than they did? And as I said, it's always very scary when I tell people that big companies have these actuaries who are taking a look at what the cost is going to be if their product hurts someone or kills someone. And they look at that versus the potential sales that they're looking at. And it doesn't make people feel very good because they start thinking, gee, I'm just a number to these people. And if their product kills me, they're just looking at how much are they going to have to pay out in order to make my family or an insurance company go away after they've killed me. But again, sometimes the problems that happen with products are not just because of a manufacturing problem. They're because people misuse the products. How many times in your life have you taken something that was meant for one thing and tried to do something else with it? Around the house, you can't find a screwdriver. You grab a steak knife and you try to use it as a screwdriver. Well, if the steak knife slips and it cuts your finger, should you really be suing the steak knife manufacturer because they made a sharp knife that cut you when you were trying to use the tip of it as a screwdriver? And the answer would be you're probably not going to get all that far with that litigation, because the first thing they're going to defend with is that you weren't using the item for what it was intended for. When you and I purchase anything, the implied warranty on it is that it should be fit for the purpose for which it was manufactured. So if you go out and buy a nice 4-door front-wheel drive sedan that was produced in order for you to drive on paved roads and doesn't have any special tires on it or any special shocks or suspension, and you decide that you're going to go four-wheeling with it, and then you want to go back on the car company and say, hey, I got stuck on the top of a mountain and had to spend a night up there and almost froze to death because your car wouldn't get me down the other side of the mountain. The first question is going to be, well, what are you trying to do four-wheeling with a car that is supposed to be a nice sedan that gets driven on paved roads? So there are some limits to what you and I can go after a manufacturer for. And manufacturers know that people will, unfortunately, use their products sometimes for things that they weren't meant to be used for. So you have to take that into consideration when you are looking as to whether or not you would have a case. The people with Ford and the Pinto had a case because Ford knew that this could be fixed, and you'll probably be pretty shocked when you read through the case and find out how little it would have taken to change the entire outcome potentially for the Ford Pinto. So I think you'll enjoy reading that case. Make sure that you answer the questions in the book and that your answer is at least 500 to 600 words. You should be using your textbook and then also at least one other source than your textbook. Remember, I've been kind of hounding on people, at least 2 sources of research for everything you do, so that you can show that you have a kind of well-rounded view of the topics. Okay? All right, ladies, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Pam and Kim, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close us out for the evening, and I will go in and put the points in for you guys attending live for the week 3 meeting, and we will move on, okay? All right, so take care, everyone, and next week, believe it or not, we're already into week 4, and we'll get together and talk about our topics again, okay? Take care, ladies. Bye-bye.